Mr Deputy Speaker, I rise tonight to speak in support of the Workers' Compensation and Rehabilitation and Other Legislation Amendment Bill. And I'm disappointed that the member for Gaven has decided to leave us after delivering what I thought was a fairly interesting perspective on this bill. I felt it was absolutely inappropriate for him to try and draw some analogy between our government and the National Socialist Party of Germany back in the times of the Second World War. But these sorts of comments from the member for Gaven shouldn't surprise us. Just today, or just yesterday, we heard him rise in the House, and again he stood and made all sorts of accusations about the effectiveness of the Gold Coast University Hospital and the health scheme, and attacked the Minister for Health, Minister Springborg, about the performance of that hospital. And yet, in spite of that, we've increased spending on the Gold Coast by some $178 million this year. We've built a brand new hospital, and then today I get a phone call from the local media suggesting that the member for Gaven, who leads the Palmer Party here in Queensland, has come up with another great plan, and that is they're going to buy the old Gold Coast Hospital. And Clive, as apparently Mr Palmer is going to make some offer on the basis that he just pays the land value and we give him everything else on the site, and then he's going to rehabilitate it, refurb it, and then run a whole new hospital at his expense, because the new Gold Coast Hospital apparently is inadequate. And yet we have a hospital built at cost to the taxpayers of this state of some $1.8 billion. We have a hospital with capacity for the next 10 years. We have six brand new services available on the Gold Coast that we've never had before. And some of these accusations about the performance of the hospital and the staff, again, the member for Gaven continues to attack and make all sorts of unfounded claims. And when the Minister for Health sends someone out from the appropriate body within government to investigate this, he comes up dry with any evidence. And so here he is again tonight, coming up dry with just hollow argument and debate about this legislation. He makes all sorts of comments and accusations about the changes we're wanting to make. He casts aspersions about the members of this government and suggests that Campbell Newman and the bureaucracy are out of control, that there's no discipline, there's no function, and yet he completely overlooks the fact that his leader has demonstrated nothing but an unbridled passion through his public statements to control the balance of power in Canberra. I don't know about you, my fellow members, but the last time I checked, I think our government was elected with a strong majority, and the people of Queensland actually said that they supported the LNP here in Queensland, and they gave us many seats to actually go out there and act responsibly and make good decisions in the best interests of Queensland. And yet we hear accusations from the leader of the Palmer Party in the House here tonight suggesting that the appropriate way to run a government is from a minority position, and to somehow try and use some sort of leverage or some sort of coercion to take control of the government and to run your own agenda. Well, Mr Deputy Speaker, I don't believe we need any further evaluation. As the member for Broadwater quite rightly pointed out earlier, it's been some 14 months in the coming, and Queenslanders and the business groups and lobby groups, they've had plenty of time to provide some evaluation. But I've done a little evaluation of my own, and I think that this is highly relevant in this discussion. The fact is that when we came into government, business in Queensland was bleeding. More and more jobs were moving offshore. Many businesses were becoming uncompetitive and struggling to even just stay afloat, let alone create opportunity and employment for people. We're in the midst of seeing some of the highest youth unemployment in recorded history within our state, and youth jobs are at unacceptable levels. The other bit of evaluation that is so relevant here is that the fact that we were actually elected to try and fix up this mess. 20 years of Labor mismanagement, 20 years of Labornomics here in Queensland, and what do we have to show for it? We have businesses out there who under Labor, the harder they work, the unluckier they get. So you work hard to grow your business, you work hard to make a profit and to create opportunity and to give someone a job, which is a tremendous privilege. And then what do? We charge them more. We put up their premiums. We make it more expensive for them to operate. We make it difficult for them to stay afloat. And then we wonder why businesses are shutting their doors. Mr Deputy Speaker, when I was in business, I saw year after year the sorts of premiums and workers' compensation costs and other costs just go up and up and up and up in my corporate business days. And then as a small business person just a few years ago, things went pretty well for a year or two, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to just put on a full-time administration staff member? Wouldn't it be great to sort of bring a full-time salesperson into the business? And then as I started to look around at the costs that were involved to do that, and the work health, place and safety regulations and the workers' compensation premiums and all the other paperwork, the red tape, I came to the conclusion pretty quickly it was a lot easier just to stay as a solo operator for a little longer. And eventually I had the need to put someone on, and I went out there and I created a part-time job for someone, and I rang up and paid my first work cover premium, and in the space of just 3 years that premium went up 400%. 400%. No claims from my business, no issues in my small business, but the premiums under work cover just continue to go up to unsustainable levels, to the point where you just go, look, it's all too hard. Well, Mr Deputy Speaker, I stand here tonight to commend the Attorney-General and the Finance and Administration Committee for their efforts in face of considerable pressure and unwarranted scare campaigns from the Labor unions. Since the review was announced, I've spoken to many constituents and business owners in my electorate who voiced their opinion about our workers' compensation scheme. What should be changed? What should remain the same? But all of them agreed on one thing: the Queensland Workers' Compensation Scheme is the best scheme for workers and employers in Australia. However, there's room for improvement, and this bill addresses those areas of concern while maintaining the high standard of employment protection Queenslanders have come to expect from our workers' compensation scheme. When speaking with businesses in my electorate, the issue of fraudulent claims has been raised with me on more than one occasion. Many in the business community are suffering at the hands of irresponsible and dishonest employees who see the workers' compensation scheme as their ticket to early retirement. Mr Deputy Speaker, one small business owner spoke to me about multiple employees who had teamed up and provided false statutory declarations for each other so each of them could claim a payout. And then every time this happened, the business's premiums skyrocketed to the point where the business had become unsustainable. And this is a business in my electorate on the coast that was providing full-time employment for some 60 people. And they came to see me at Australia Fair about 6 months ago, and they just said, look, it's at the point now where the premium and the conditions and everything else that's been placed on us is unreasonable. We've got people coming to us with work histories that are not declaring them and then putting in claims for old injuries that have occurred in a different work life in a different setting. And that's why we've needed to attack this issue and address it. Because we need to get Queensland going. We need to create jobs. We need to continue to build that reputation that we're so committed to building, and that's one of being the best place in Australia to come and set up a business and to build a home and to create a future. This particular business, however, that I mentioned before, they wanted to know what recourse they had and what penalties were applicable to those fraudulent workers. He wanted to know why no one was taking his concerns or fraudulent claims seriously. Well, our government has listened to these concerns. The Workers' Compensation and Rehabilitation Other Legislation Amendment Bill will increase penalties for fraudulent claims to 500 penalty points or 5 years of imprisonment. We're also changing the laws so that WorkCover is legally required to refer all allegations of fraud-related offences to the scheme regulator for investigation. This is an effective and responsible approach to a widespread problem, and I will be pleased to return to my electorate tomorrow and speak with business owners about these changes. It's an important win for Queensland businesses who have long been fighting this battle with little ammunition. Mr Deputy Speaker, the scaremongering that has gone on as a result of this review into workers' compensation has been outrageous. Last week I received an email from a school principal in my electorate, and I'd like to read that. Hi Rob, I just thought I'd let you know that the Teachers Union is asking its members to take action against the LNP government, alleging that your government is preparing legislation to take away journey cover for travel to and from work, injuries that occur on journeys between work sites and injuries that occur on any recess break. They're also wanting to limit payouts in civil legal action for employer negligence, common law claims if injured at work, Rob, I'm unsure as to whether all of this is factual, and obviously I would be opposed and most concerned if it was. However, I thought I would at least give you a heads up. I thought I would at least get a confirm from you that this is not the fact in case, and that I would seek your personal views on such a proposal. I wish you well. Well, we wrote back to this particular school principal and he was more than happy with the response because we were able to go back and give some undertakings about the policy direction of this new legislation. The action referred to in this email, being encouraged by the Teachers Union, was sending postcards to MPs' offices protesting the removal of journey claims from Workers' Compensation Scheme. My office has received at least 70 of those. And the thing that, Mr Deputy Speaker, that annoys me about this is just the fraudulent behaviour of the opposition in creating this unnecessary alarm, with no regard for the concerns and feelings and the worries of ordinary families out there working, but whipping up a frenzy about issues that are just simply not true or factual. And I'm reminded of the way Labor do business every time I go past the entrance at the lift up to level 9, and we see those placards behind their desk. Queensland's not for sale, Queensland hospitals are not for sale, and it's just another great example. Yeah, and apparently Queensland Rail's not for sale either. So the hypocrisy of the opposition is just breathtaking. Yeah. All of this is just a tremendous waste of time and union members' fees, particularly after the Attorney-General again confirmed his commitment and announced in this House that there would be absolutely no change to journey claims. The Attorney referenced the transit nature and size of our fly-in, fly-out workforce as important reasons to retain journey claims. We're the only state to maintain journey claims for every worker. This bill also maintains access to common law claims except for those with a medically assessed impairment of less than 5%. As part of the review process, the evidence provided for common law claims indicated 56% of claims were for those with a work-rebated impairment of 0 to 5%. However, incredibly, these represented 52% of all costs in 2011 and 12. It should also be noted that all injured workers are entitled to compensation under the statutory payout scheme, which is a no-fault scheme. Claims are more appropriately dealt with through the statutory scheme instead of the courts. As I mentioned earlier that as a former employer, just some of the challenges that I've experienced in this space. But the economics of this from the opposition's point of view are quite interesting. And I'm not sure that they really understand basic economic principles. But the principle seems to be you keep pushing up the wages and the conditions of people so they can earn more. And then when people do start to earn more, then you start to tax them and you tax business more because you need more and more money to cover fraudulent claims and to support people on welfare and people that can't get jobs because the jobs start to diminish because business can't keep employing people. So you end up handing out more and more money to people, many of whom should be supported. Absolutely, those people who are disadvantaged in our communities should be supported. But it's ridiculous for us to be supporting people that just want to rort the system. And speaking of people who rort the system, what about these lawyers who skim off these extortionate amounts of money off these compensation claims, these no-win, no-fee systems, where they'll go in and provide their services at some ridiculous amount of money, like they get to keep half, and they value themselves at $400 or $500 an hour, and out there, hand on heart, like our good friends in the Labor government, the Labor opposition, we're here to help, but we're happy to help because we're getting $400 an hour and we're here to make sure you get your $25 an hour. The hypocrisy of this organisation and the opposition in this space is just incredible. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, the only way that business can thrive in Queensland is to have great work conditions. The only way that business can thrive is that, that businesses need to have some certainty around their premiums and their costs. They need to know what their overheads are. And it simply isn't sustainable for a business one year to be paying $10,000 in work cover premiums, and then next year they find they've got to pay $25,000, and then 2 years later it's gone up to $89,000. In the case of this particular business I mentioned earlier down the Gold Coast, with 60 employees, their premium had gone up to something like $178,000. Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out how many jobs that would have created. And as a parent, my hope is that we can provide a great future for our kids. My passion is to see everybody with a job. My passion is to see everyone that doesn't have a job, that could be doing a job, have a job. But while we keep jacking up the costs and handing out more money to people who really don't need it and are already getting far more than they should, and these lawyers that are gouging the system, all we simply do is rob our kids of a great future. And that's why I'm here. That's why I ran for the election last year. That's why I decided to spend hopefully the second part of my working life in politics and serving the community that I love, and serving the Gold Coast and Southport, which I love. And I'm frankly sick of hearing people come to my office struggling to get a job, struggling to get by, and listening to business people who are just tearing their hair out trying to meet the overheads that are imposed by the sort of policies we've seen from the opposition, the Labournomics of business management in Queensland. Mr Deputy Speaker, Madam Speaker, I think it's just important to point out that a job is actually a privilege. It's not a right, it's a privilege. And we have to stop penalising our entrepreneurs and risk takers for giving people a go. Workers' compensation was never supposed to be an alternate form of welfare. It was supposed to be a fair and reasonable recognition and compensation for real harm, and to cover and support those people who had a genuine injury at work. Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm happy to add my support for the Workers' Compensation Rehabilitation and other legislation amendment bill. 2013.
I call the member.